Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. You know, sometimes when I buy stuff, furniture, electronics, I like to wait. I like to sleep on it. I just want to make sure that I'm making the right choice. So, after 33 years, I and a lot of other comic book collectors have finally decided to pick up the most infamous 90s book of all time, X-Force #1. Yes, that is right. The book that sold 5 million copies 30 years ago and probably had 10 million copies sitting in dollar bin boxes over the last 3 decades is #1 once again. Enhance. Kind of lost it. Back up. All right, that's good enough. Cover price, here you see in front of you guys, #1, X-Force #1. Look at that issue. This week on Cover Price, this dollar bin book topped the charts. And to all you collectors out there that have been hoarding multiple long boxes of this thing, this is your moment, guys. This is your moment. It's time to unload for that sweet $2 sale. But jokes aside, I thought about talking about this book in this video here today. One, to kind of describe why it's getting hot. Talk about all of the X-Men craze, the Deadpool craze that seems to, continue to be in the comic book market. And then maybe end the video with a little bit of a discussion, throw it back to you guys. Here we are, a Copper Age book, once again topping the charts. I mean, I showed you guys the list right there, and you can see multiple Copper Age books topping the charts. Cover price, come on, help me out here. I'm trying to record. You can see multiple Copper Age books topping the charts, and some other various modern keys and stuff. And, it's really interesting to me. Should we be worried about this? Is it a little worrisome that the Copper Age books are the ones that continue to sell? Does Gen Z want any of these Copper Age books? Is this just older millennials and Gen X trading nostalgia with each other? Will this gravy train end? Will the youth want comics in the future? Well, in this video, we got to talk about it. But of course, before I get into it, if you guys could like, comment, subscribe, I would appreciate it. Helps for the channel doing those things. But let us get into this video here today. There you guys see it, X-Force #1, the very first polybag issue. If you guys remember, this one came with 5 trading cards. In fact, one of the cards was the Deadpool quote-unquote rookie card, which definitely had some crazy sales back in, lockdown time, the comic book boom time. I thought it'd be interesting in this video to also revisit the sales of that particular Marvel card. But this one is really interesting. When this book came out, done by Rob Liefeld, it was one of the highest selling books of that time. I think Jim Lee X-Men #1 was still #1, but this one moved 5 million copies. Who knows how many times this book has exchanged hands, in the secondary market over the course of these last 3 decades. I mean, can you imagine if we had Web3 technology or something like that? How much extra money would be in Rob Liefeld's pocket? Do you think that this book has exchanged hands in dollar bins millions of times? I almost wonder. I think it might have. But let's talk about why this book got hot. Here I am on Key Collector. Let's kind of take a read. X-Force #1, third appearance of Warpath. First cameo appearance of Tyler Dayspring, the son of Strife. First appearance of G.W. Bridge, a former teammate of Cable, and that's really going to be the reason that it gets hot. Unofficial appearance of Deadpool, a character bio, first comic to be sold in a polybag with a trading card, as we already discussed. But there you see it, July 2024, Giancarlo Esposito, rumored to be cast as GW. George Washington Bridge in the Falcon and Winter Soldier. I believe that Key Collector actually meant Captain America, Brave New World, because there you see Giancarlo Esposito, of course, of Los Pollos Hermanos fame. He was seen on the set of Captain America, and it's been all but confirmed that he's basically playing this character. And once again, comic book collectors, speculators, got very excited to pick up their very, very favorite, classic, nostalgic 90s goodness X book, which I think is amazing. I mean, just yesterday I did that video talking about Agatha All Along, and some of the comic books related to it, and how there was really little to no movement for a lot of those comic books. Yet here we are approaching Deadpool and Wolverine with Captain America on the horizon, And it feels like these types of books are definitely getting attention in the comic book market. I mean, again, if I go back to cover price here and I kind of back it up and go down to, the list, cover price, come on. And I go back to the list. I mean, again, we always see this. New Mutants 98, Wolverine 88, X-Men number 11. A lot of X books there on the title. If I go up to the Go Collect here, you have Deadpool number 1, you got X Factor number 6, you got, again, the Wolverine 88 book. So X books definitely still getting that attention, and there's just that many comic book fans that still want to pick up this thing. I always mention on my channel that, with some of these hot lists, if they really wanted to be fully accurate with secondary market sales, basically Jim Lee X-Men number 1, X-Force number 1, Spawn number 1, all of these books that came out, of that time would basically be able to top the charts every single week. But that would be kind of boring, if that was actually going to be the news. It's one thing to sort of talk about X-Force number 1, in this video here today because of the fact that, kind of connects to what's going on in the culture versus if I was going to do this video week after week after week, well, nobody would be watching it. But for now, people are very interested. As we can see on the eBay sales, I just wanted to scrub through. Now, this again is a book that, like I said, it sells all the time regardless, but it's definitely been moving that much more. Now, as I teased in the beginning of the video, it's not that, it's selling for a lot of money, but, occasionally the ones with the Deadpool card, can go upwards of $8 to $10 or so. So still kind of cool, still kind of impressive. And there you see people picking up 9/8. Also, just in case you guys didn't know, if you ever go to grade your comic book, CGC will actually remove it from the poly bag. So, that old discussion of, should I keep my comic in the poly bag to, protect it? Well, essentially, the answer to that question is no, if you're really trying to kind of maximize, quote unquote, the money. Not to say that there's a lot of money in this comic book, but if you really wanted to maximize it, CGC is just going to remove it from the poly bag anyways. And the graded version of this is going to sell more than the raw comic in a poly bag either way. So it doesn't really make sense to keep it in the poly bag other than the fact that, maybe there's just some collectors that want it presented as such, but just a little bit of a tidbit in case you guys were wondering about poly bags overall. But let's check in on this book, X-Force number 1, only 2,848 universal copies on the Census. It must be a rare book. No, I'm just kidding. It's just not a book that people like to send in for grading. We know that the numbers right there could be, who knows, right? This book, again, sold 5 million copies back in the day. I assume that, 4,999,999 were actually protected in bags and boards because everybody was speculating, thinking that this book was going to buy them their private islands. Well, this is as close of a chance as they're ever going to get. But there you see, 633 9/8. Of course, there could be a lot more. Some of the sales, $88, $66, $68, $75. It's funny because that's still a lot, right? Relative for what this is. A lot of people can find this thing in dollar bins. It's pretty much at any comic book store that you go into. Like, it would be surprising for them to not have a book like this in stock. And most of the time you can buy it for $1 to $5, and then you send it in for grading for $20, and then you can come back and look at that profit right there. And that's something that is maybe a little bit of a different conversation. I know a lot of comic book dealers that tell me about how much money they make, just grading Copper Age books and selling them. There's just so many people out there that take a Todd McFarlane Spider-Man number 1 and, they got it for $1 and they send it into CGC for grading. That costs them $30 all in. That's their cost basis. And then they sell the book for, whatever, 70, 80, 90. And they're just doubling their money every single time. There's people that make 5 figures a month doing that, selling those types of books. It's crazy that the demand for this thing, the nostalgia for, Copper Age comics is there. Even when you think about the artists that people want to get their signatures, the people that really get a lot of money, on the comic shows and CGC signings and things like that. It's Todd McFarlane, it's Jim Lee, it's Rob Liefeld. It's basically all the creators that came out of this period. And you sort of have to wonder, is this gravy train going to end? Well, for now, this week, it is definitely not. Now, before I wrap up the video, I did want to talk about how this one had the trading cards in it. It was the first poly bag, one of the first comics to come with a trading card. There were 5 different options. I pulled up this uncut sheet, which actually, for 265 bucks, this is a pretty cool little art piece that you can kind of get for yourself. I might consider this. Get it framed, hanging on the wall. This is actually pretty cool. Uncut sheets like this. I've been watching some of them on Heritage Auctions. Some of the Marvel card ones and things like that. Usually they sell around $500, $600, $700, but definitely one that I want to pick up. Maybe not this one. I'd be more interested in 90MU. Anyways, these were the 5 cards that came with this set: Cable, Deadpool, Sunspot, and Gideon Shatterstar. And then, of course, it had the X-Force team there on the side. Again, they had the stats on the back. And my God, look at the Deadpool stats are... He's got 7s. He's got 2 7s and 2 6s. Man, talk about power creep. That's crazy that he got those kinds of stats. Even Cable. Look at him. He's got a 7 and 2 6s. Shatterstar has a 7? All right. I don't know who did those stats, but I'm not considering those stats canon. But of course, the Deadpool card is considered his rookie card. This is the one that got absolutely crazy. Back in the day in COVID times, I believe a PSA 10 ended up selling for $9,000, maybe $10,000. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I can't really remember, and I had a hard time actually finding what that sale figure was, but I believe it did reach upwards of almost 5 figures. Well, funny enough, I was able to go to eBay sold listings and check out the last sale for the Deadpool rookie here, July 4th of July, 2024, still selling $1,500. One before that, another $1,500 sale for PSA 10s right there of this card. I mean, $1,500 is still pretty impressive overall. I mean, it's nowhere near the $10,000 that I was selling for, but it's still a 4-figure card. So there you go. Maybe that's part of the reason why X-Force #1 will always be an interesting buy for people. Because if you can pull the PSA 10 Deadpool rookie card, you can definitely still get $1,500 for it. Although if you get a PSA 9, this one's only $100 right there. So I don't know what the PSA 10 rate is for this particular card, but I mean, that's a pretty big difference. $1,500 to $100? I mean, that's like 9.6, 9.8 pricing right there, which, as we've discussed many times in the video, if you just want to have it, do yourself a favor and get the 9.6. Anyways, that's all I got for this one. That was me talking about X-Force #1 topping the charts on cover prices. Top 10. It's so crazy. Here we are 3 decades later, and this comic book is still selling. How is that the case? How is it the case that 90s comics, Copper Age comics, outsell comics today? Is that really something that we should all be concerned about? Are we just going to be flipping books, in old folks' homes to each other? Just older millennials and Gen X? That's what we're going to do? Is Gen Z going to jump onto comic books? Do they have creators like Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld that are going to sell out CGC signings? Hey, maybe that could be me in the future one day with my comic series Sanity. Which, by the way, we're getting pretty close, guys. We're getting pretty close. Updates to follow. I also do have another project coming up. Zero Ghost by Justin Jordan and Brian Ching, our company 24/7 Comics. If you guys want to check this out, it's going to be the next project coming out of our company. So link in the description. Go give the pre-launch page a follow. We'll talk about it more in the future. Anyways, that's all I got for this one. Cover price, #1 book. X-Force, #1. Let me know what you guys think. Did you guys buy this book? What do you guys think about this 90s comics still topping the charts? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, that's all I got for this one. Like, comment, subscribe. See you on the next video.